Hello, BookTube. Well, due to my little interruption in service, and due to the fact that I'm slammed with books every single day, we're well behind in mail hauls. But rather than address the backlog, I thought I'd just dive into the latest one, and we'll see what fun we can have. It's just a small stack, and it ends with a box. So let's see what this first one is. It's 2 books. Okay, what a way to start. What a way to start. Okay, these are new Norton Critical editions, which I've mentioned on this channel before. They're mainly meant for schools, but I always advocate them for general use as well. They're a paperback, nice flexible, well-made paperback. You get the text, whatever the text is at the beginning, and at the back you get a wide, really well-based critical apparatus. If the book is an adaptation of something, then you get the originals as far as we know. So you will get the historical accounts of the King Macbeth or whatnot, and then you get contemporaneous reactions to the work as it was appearing, and then you get critical essays, a wide variety of critical essays, usually marvelously well chosen, so that. And the editions themselves, the front half, are well footnoted, well annotated with critical introduction. So it really is one-stop shopping if you're interested in sort of a personal at-home course on whatever book you're dealing with. So what do we got here? Okay, the first one is The Golden Age of Spanish Drama. These are all English language translations. What have we got here? Siege of Numancia, The Dog with the Manger, Life is a Dream, Trials of a Noble House. Cervantes and Lope de Vega, Calderón de la Barca. I don't know many of these plays at all. And that's fantastic. Okay, so the first 271 pages are the plays, and then you've got 200 more pages on critical apparatus. That's fantastic. Okay, great. And okay. The other one is that's an old friend. The other one is The Canterbury Tales of Geoffrey Chaucer. Oh my. Okay, so what have we got here? Okay, so you have a selection of tales, although with Chaucer, with the Canterbury Tales, you could really do all the ones that we really have. It is not in modern English, which is great. You've got Chaucer's English with glosses for the odd or difficult words on the side, and then tons of essays. Oh, fantastic. Oh my. Okay, the new Norton Critical Canterbury Tales. Fantastic. All right, what a way to start. One book I know backwards and forwards, the other I'm going to learn a lot, but just what you want from Norton Critical. What is this next one? It's a slim volume of poetry. It's the finished copy of a slim volume of poetry. It is A Memory of the Future by Elizabeth Spires, who's been called a jewel of a poet by the Los Angeles Times and is known for poems that are characterized by, quote, simplicity, conviction, and grace, according to the Boston Globe. And in this new book, she brings us Zen-infused meditations on the limitations of memory, mortality, and the boundaries of human existence. The radiant poems in the first section of A Memory of the Future consider in ways both serious and playful who or what is the self. If ego is peeled away, layer by layer, what remains? Opening the collection, Life of I, lowercase l, beautifully wrestles with these questions, and the poem is, if I lost my head, what would I be? The question haunts me, how to find myself when a self is so small, only an iota of doubt and longing, how to go on. Okay, well, this is due in late July, and perhaps one of you will review it. Let's Let's see. I think it's wonderful of W.W. Norton to send me these things. That's great. Oh, great. Okay, great. Fantastic. This is, I got the advanced copy of this, I gobbled it up right away. I broke my own rule. I usually wait with advanced copies until I'm close to the trigger date, and then I read it, and then, ideally, what I like to do is read the advanced copy close to the publication date, and right around that time I'm also getting the finished copy, and that I can reconsider the book, I can read it again, or read large chunks of it again, I can examine parts that bugged me about my initial reading, that sort of thing. Or, as you've seen on this channel, sometimes I will forget or neglect to read the advanced copy, and then the finished copy shows up as a sort of a tap on the shoulder to get on with it, which is, for me, extremely legitimate, since, unlike the rest of you, I read only new releases. So I don't have anything else dragging at my reading time, so I really should be getting to these things. I should know them. By the time the finished copy gets here, I should know the book. And that isn't always the case, but one thing and another. And this is one that I broke the rule with. I read it right away because I knew the subject was interesting. It's by Ruby Lal, and it's called Empress, The Astonishing Reign of Nur Jahan, who was a female empress of the Mughal Empire, and whose story, you have to read it to believe it, and the details of it are all true. It's just amazing. Every time I've read an account of the Mughal Empire, even when those accounts have been, very much concerned with serious socio-political matters and whatnot, she steals the show whenever she comes up. Whenever she's mentioned, she steals the show. It's just an incredible subject, one that people don't know. Let me see here. Nur Jahan was born only a few decades after Queen Elizabeth I of England, yet she ruled a territory vastly more diverse than her British counterpart. The only woman ruler in India's long Mughal dynasty, today Nur Jahan is an omnipresent figure in the folklore of South Asia, as Cinderella is in the West. Little girls grow up reading stories of how she and Jahangir met and fell in love, and how she saved a village stalked by a killer tiger, shooting it dead from the back of an elephant. But though many have heard these romantic stories, they know next to nothing about her dynamic world, political acumen, and powerful ambition. A Shia woman married to a Sunni king, Nur Jahan was a remarkable leader in a male-dominated world. She didn't come from royalty like Queen Elizabeth, Cleopatra, or other renowned women rulers, yet she ascended from the emperor's harem to great heights as an astute politician and favorite wife of the emperor. And I think this may be the first full-dress popular biography of her in English, which I'll have to check on that, of course, since I'm going to write about this, but that would be fascinating. The only quibble, you can see it coming a mile away, I'm sure, the only quibble that I have with the pub sheet is the implication that Queen Elizabeth I and Cleopatra had it easy, that they were born to royalty, and so they just sort of wafted onto the throne. They both spent time, many days, much time, wondering if they were going to have their head chopped off. But nevertheless, I can't wait. I've read this already. I can't wait to read it again. I would probably do that tonight, just as an indulgence. But by the same token, I highly recommend it. This is an utterly remarkable woman, an utterly remarkable life story, and it isn't probably something that you've read before. I don't think the book's going to need any help from me to do well, to find an audience, although I will give it all the help that I can. Anyway, let's see here. Okay. All right, this is a little confusing. This is MIT Press. Yes? No, Harvard University Press. Okay, this is a little confusing. It's, I think, probably a clerical error of some kind. This is already out. It's been out for quite some time. It's the finished copy of Justin Weiss's biography of Zbigniew Brzezinski, which I thought was magnificently good, just incredible, an amazing work of political biography. But it's okay. I'm not quite sure why I got this. I'll have to email the publicist and see what's going on. But anyway, it gives me a perfect opportunity. I think we've seen it on this channel before. It gives me a perfect opportunity to praise it and to recommend it. If you are at all interested in realpolitik, in the geopolitics of American foreign policy in the last 50 years, the last 30 years, then this book is going to press all your buttons. And not only that, but the author respects your intelligence, which is nice. Because Brzezinski waded deep into really complex, deep waters, and needed to know everything about his foreign policy subjects. He needed to know the people and the players and the dynamics going back for generations. Needed to know the culture. Needless to say, that kind of thinking, it no longer backs American foreign policy. We'll put it very gently. Brzezinski has no corresponding person anywhere in today's American government. Certainly not in today's executive branch. So it makes the book all the more interesting. I loved it. I don't know why I'm getting it now. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe it is due soon, and I'm just thinking about the advance copy. But I don't think so. Well, anyway, let's move on. We've got some cardboard to deal with, accelerated to a box. Brzezinski did if you had told him that a U.S. president would refuse intelligence briefings before a summit with either the leaders of Europe or the dictator of North Korea, that in either of those cases a sitting U.S. president would say, I'm not really going to prepare. I'm just going to use my instincts. He would have been horrified. and he met people like that in his long tenure as a shadowy figure behind the scenes in American government. Anyway, what have we got here? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, all right. This is going to be this next one is going to be a test of a kind that all real readers, that all serious readers should always be prepared for. They should always be prepared to take this test. We've talked about it many times on this channel, the test where an author burns you bad, where you read an author's book, or books, or a lifetime of books, and you can see clearly the stuff they're doing wrong, the stuff they're doing ineptly. And regardless of whether or not, let's say, that same work is being praised elsewhere, just on its own terms, you can look at it and say, this is garbage. The test that we all have to face is, okay, if an author has done that to you, or done that to you repeatedly, and that author comes out with something new, the test here is go at it fresh, right? That's the whole point of creativity. That's the whole reason that we read people who are brave enough and smart enough and talented enough to put their work in public. Because we figure, especially creative work, because let's say fiction, we figure that they are impelled to do so. I mean, the serious ones, maybe not, formulaic serial thrillers or whatnot, but for what we now call literary fiction, we follow them in an implicit assumption that they are impelled to do this, and they're impelled by their creativity. And creativity is evergreen. We have to hope, that it doesn't fall into ruts. That, in other words, every time you get a new book by an author who has disappointed you, the test we all have to pass, and I admit I fail as often as anybody, is to give it a clean slate and try again. That very much applies to this. This is a trilogy of little books called Codex 1962 by the author of The Moonstone, a novella called The Moonstone, which was hailed from here to Timbuktu as a revelation in gay fiction, and which was god-awful. God-awful. Not just on a philosophical level, in that it wasn't about gay life, it was about loathing gay life, but also on the just structural level. There's no sense from scene to scene, the characters have no interior life, and the whammy at the end, the whammy at the very end of the book that I actually saw two critics, one in America and one in the UK, praise. The whammy, very obvious. It could not be more obvious that the whammy at the end of Moonstone occurred to the author while he was typing. It is not a product of construction at all. It's a whim, and it's a ridiculous whim. It doesn't even work. So I won't say hurled the book down, but I put the book down thinking, well, this is an author who's really bad. Okay, here is it's spanning eras, continents, and genres. Codex 1962, 20 years in the making, is the author's 3-part masterpiece. And it comes out in September. And okay, fine. Fine. I will read it, and I will read it with an open mind, even though I wouldn't inflict Moonstone on my worst enemy. Those of you Victorian fans, if there are any Wilkie Collins fans watching, I should offer you a trigger warning now, because one of my first reactions to Moonstone was to say that I hadn't thought it possible that anyone could make a book worse than the original. Not supposed to dislike Wilkie Collins, but nevertheless. All right, so now we'll move on to this next one. It's even bigger than this. What is this going to be? Another finished copy of some kind? Oh, okay. All right, fantastic. Finished. I was actually wondering if I was going to get a finished copy of this because the date is right away. The date is Tuesday, I think, or has already passed. And this is great. This is Bob Gottlieb, and he wrote a long-awaited literary memoir called Avid Reader a couple of years ago, that I thought was very good. It was gentlemanly to the point of nullity. You get to famous, well-known literary anecdotes, things that you have heard at 6 different literary parties or book releases anywhere in New York in the last 30 years. And you get to his version of the event. When he was there, it was the key player, and has a memory like a bear trap. And you get a bowdlerized version because the book was an extended exercise in being a gentleman in an age when there are no gentlemen. So on the one hand, I was nodding in appreciation. On the other hand, I was saying, what on earth? But anyway, I liked Avid Reader. I recommend it. And this is a collection of his pieces, of Robert Gottlieb's pieces for the New York Review of Books. Let's see here. A collection of more than 50 essays written mostly for the New York Review of Books, ranging from recognitions of American writers like Dorothy Parker and Thomas Wolfe, to such figures as Lenny Bernstein, Lawrence Hart, Lady Diana Cooper, John Wilkes Booth, the scandalous movie star Mary Astor, Arturo Toscanini, and Donald Trump. And it's called Near-Death Experiences. It should be in bookstores now. I don't take this the wrong way, but I'm going to think that if you're interested in the literary life of the last 50 years in America, this would actually probably be even more interesting for you to read than Avid Reader. As Avid Reader has generous elements of memoir in it, and this is just the straight stuff. This is a godsend to people like me who have been clipping his pieces from the New York Review of Books for decades. And I can just take the folder of those pieces and throw it out. I can just throw it in the garbage. I don't need to cart it around box after box, apartment after apartment anymore, because I have a book now, which is the justified fate of all such pieces. They're really good. And then we have the box to finish off. This little free-floating, long-lost mail haul here. Oh my. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, we've seen this before, but I didn't know the finished copy would look so nice. Good Lord. This is a little bit of an oddity. This is, look at how good this looks. This is Glen David Gould's I Will Be Complete. This is a memoir by the author of the great book Carter Beats the Devil, which I recommend to everybody. People say, I recommend it sometimes to naysayers who say, oh, you just don't like any contemporary fiction. That's not true. I would hope that I might be hard on contemporary fiction, but I've had people in the last 20 years actually say to me, that not only am I hard on contemporary fiction, but that I don't read it. Nothing could be further from the truth. I know right now 7 people in America and the UK who only review contemporary fiction. It's the only thing they do. And 2 of them do nothing else. They don't do anything but review contemporary fiction. And all 7 of them admit, well, if you get them, you know, here at Hyde College with 1 glass of wine in them, every one of them will instantly admit that I read more contemporary fiction than any of them. I'm just hard on it, that's all. I don't view it as this temple that I have to go worshipping in. But Carter Beats the Devil is a great example of contemporary fiction that I just hand to people. You can scarcely go wrong. But what have we got here? Let's see what... this is a memoir about growing up in the wake of an extremely unconventional mother. Bringing swinging 1970s California vividly to life. I Will Be Complete is a jaw-dropping account told in 3 parts of a young man finding his way through an unusual time with an unusual family. Raised wealthy in Los Angeles at the end of the go-go 1960s, Glen's life takes an... Okay, Glen's life wasn't raised in the 1960s, but that's all right. Glen's life takes an unexpected turn when his father's fortune disappears and his parents divorce. His mother, nurturing a newly independent spirit, follows a charming man to San Francisco on a whim and ends up raising Glen there among the hippies, con men, drugs, wild parties, dubious authority figures, and get-rich schemes that seem to characterize the era. I remember it well. Marriage to Deb fits almost all of those descriptors. Then one afternoon when he's 12, she moves to New York without telling him, leaving him to fend for himself. And this is the story of how he survives. He brings all his gifts as a novelist, including a profound emotional understanding, to a kaleidoscope of his most formative experiences. His salvation at boarding school, his dream job at an independent bookstore in Los Angeles in 1983, a punk rock riot, a romance with a femme fatale to the soundtrack of R.E.M., the start of his writing career, his estrangement from his mother, who moved in with her soulmate, a man who threatened to kill her. I confess, much as I love Carter Beats the Devil, I have not read this book. I've had the advanced copy the whole time, and I haven't done it. So, and he's going to be at Politics and Prose at the end of July, July 28th, a Saturday. Great. Oh, he's going to be in Massachusetts on Thursday, the 26th of July. He's going to be at Newtonville Books, and he's going to be talking with Aaron Thier, who is a young novelist whose latest book is fantastic. So that's great. Wow. All right. Well, I'm not like some of my favorite booktubers are part of the reading community. They go to readings, they meet authors, they meet and talk with other people in the audience. I would never do such a thing, but I watch their channels just avidly to see them do it. I live it through them. I would never do it myself. Well, first of all, I could be home writing. But second, it always seems like... well, there was a critic years and years and years ago, a book critic, who said that he makes a point of never meeting any authors. Doesn't go to any book openings, no book parties, no nothing like that, because he's worried that he'll like them. and it may be incumbent on him someday to savage them in print. And he doesn't want anything messing with that dedication. I think I would probably be able to do it. I have savaged in print plenty of authors that I know and like. But I just never managed to get around to readings, even when they're right here in my neck of the woods. And even when it's an author I like. But one way or another, this has got to be, the date for this has got to be soon. It's terrible that I haven't already read this. This comes out, at the end of June. Good Lord. Slated for June 26th, might already be in bookstores now. So this this mail haul is full of things that I really need to get to. So we have I Will Be Complete. We have Near-Death Experiences. We have Codex 1962, which I am going to read with a completely open mind, and I will report back. We have the big new biography of Zbigniew Brzezinski. I don't understand why I got it, but I'm glad that I did, because I don't know that I ever recommended it on this channel. Half the books that I really love in the course of like 2 or 3 months, I don't ever talk about on this channel when I want to recommend everything in the world to you that's good, and quietly bury all the stuff that isn't. Anyway, then we have Empress, But Nur Jahan, a fantastic book. Wholeheartedly recommend it. Then A Memory of the Future, a slim volume of poetry. And then 2 Norton Critical editions of The Golden Age of Spanish Drama and The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. So that's not a bad haul to get us, start to get us back in the swing of things. So let me know what looked interesting to you, and let me know if you're willing to take on a slim volume of poetry. I'd be happy to send it far and wide to wherever in rural New Zealand you happen to live. But anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.